meanwhile, let's talk for a little bit about Ebola, and then we'll bring on our guest who has actually several rather diverse things to say to us today. Very interesting conversation about radiation reduction supplements, a very important topic, and about how to fund not-for-profit enterprises. We're very interested in that for ourselves, of course, and we're also very interested so that you know how to fund any not-for-profit activities that you have or know of or that are dear to your heart. Going to the Gates Foundation is not a good idea. Going to the Rockefeller Foundation is not a good idea. So we have to find creative ways to fund ourselves with clean money to do the good things that need to be done to stop the globalists. And there are so many good things that need to be done. Now, let's talk first for a few minutes about Ebola. At Porton Down, and that's in the UK, and at many places in the United States, including Fort Detrick and the United States Army Military Research Institute for Infectious Diseases. They've spent, I don't know how much publicly acknowledged money, and God knows how much publicly unauthorized money weaponizing this sucker. In fact, the United States government, the Army to be specific, authorized and approved a vaccine against Ebola in 2004, and then did it again and authorized and approved another vaccine against Ebola in 2006. Now, vaccines don't work, but the point is they created two separate vaccines, which are like ladies in waiting in the background. And of course, instead of that, now we're paying huge amounts of money to all kinds of drug companies to develop new vaccines, which won't have been tested on human beings or will not have any long-term safety record. They're not intended to be safe. And so the chic thing at the moment is to say, oh, well, Ebola is a conspiracy nonsense. It's not really there. Where are the Ebola patients? Well, that's a really, really good question. How about this, folks? They're in U.S. hospitals in increasing numbers, but the United States government has ordered the media not to report on Ebola and not to report on Ebola patients in local hospitals. The Ebola has been expunged from our consciousness, and the counterintelligence is, oh, but it's not real anyway, it's just a conspiracy, it's really tuberculosis. It's a real virus with a real potential for killing you in most horrible ways. And for whatever reason, the agenda right now is to make it disappear. Yet, the United States government let a contract for special airplanes to bring back 3 Ebola-afflicted doctors per week from Africa to the United States. And that was at a cost of $55, I recall correctly, for 6 months to have these planes on standby because they're on.
Hi, it's Ralph. Yes. Hi. Let me. The radio show is happening right now, Kathy. So, but I've got on mute. Oh my gosh. Dr. Rima's 2-hour radio program just started a few minutes ago. So can we reschedule talking to you guys in the morning?
Yeah, that would be fine. You should be able to access your online bill pay now.
We'll check it and we'll get back to you if we need to. I'm sorry, this is our 2-hour once a week internet radio program. So I gotta unmute and get back onto it.
Okay, you should be good then.
Perfect. Much thanks.
An afflicted illegal immigrant from West Africa to the Canary Islands. A whole boatload of these people washed up on a nudist colony beach, and they were sick and vomiting and bleeding. They were quite far along in their probable Ebola situation, and a special airplane was dispatched for this illegal immigrant. Why? Well, I think the CDC and the other U.S. agencies are not quite ready because, you see, the United States government owns 13 patents on the Ebola virus, and Ebola is mentioned in the patent application of another 2,000 U.S. patents, and they own every antibody that anybody produces to the strains of Ebola that they engineered and therefore patented. And I guess that this guy may be pretty interesting to them. My suspicion would be on the basis of some interesting antibodies that they want to harvest. And if you are making antibodies to their virus, here's a question for you. Do they own your blood? Does the patent holder then own the machinery that is infringing upon the patent holder's patent? And are you therefore their property because you're using their patent without their patented material without paying royalties? Ralph, you're a lawyer. What do you think?
I think it's a very interesting issue, and I've had
Ralph?
a few. No,
Ralph,
I don't know. Yep, just on mute. Just had you on mute. Hi guys, just had you on mute. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, what do you think about that, Ralph?
Well,
I haven't heard anybody discuss
all right.
this.
I've had a little bit of a discussion with some of those ideas with a couple of lawyers who are actually knowledgeable in patents and all, and they doubt very much that it can be considered new and useful, which is the primary issue. And then the question becomes whether it was previously disclosed. I mean, my genetic material goes back millions of years. If the information was disclosed, then it can't be patented. And isn't the way that you disclose genetic material is by growing a person, and that person is the expression of that information?
But what about if you are now trespassing in the same way that a farmer is trespassing on Monsanto's intellectual property when his field or her field is contaminated without the farmer's knowledge by the patented organism? We've lost huge numbers of family farms this way to the Monsanto monster. In that same way, wouldn't you be trespassing on the intellectual property of the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Homeland Security, the CDC, and all the other patent holders?
Well,
you used the Ebola virus?
There's some cases, in the Monsanto cases, you recognize. There are some courts that have gone one way and some the other way, and hopefully it'll eventually get worked out that property rights will be respected again. But I think that that anytime you've pointed out the absurdity of that sort of property claim by giving us the example of a living being who obviously has genetic material that they've inherited literally from their forebears. And how could that be anyone else's property other than theirs? How could that sequence of information belong to anyone else except the expression of it, which is our own physical being? If courts say the opposite, they are simply usurping fundamental human rights. And I've always said that the usurpation of right is not a precedent. And it should be reversed at the earliest possible opportunity.
So this is a really interesting issue. Now, what's happening with Ebola? I was just about to write, and I didn't have time today, an essay for our blast. And by the way, if you are not yet on our distribution list, I urge you to go to www.drimatruth.com, enter your email information, which will be respected in terms of privacy by us, if not the NSA. They're everywhere. And you will immediately be taken to a page that has a link to my protocol for the use of the only thing that we know to be effective in supporting the immune system safely in the face of Ebola and many, many other infections. But you'll be taken there, and you'll also receive a complimentary subscription to my newsletter. And that's filled with important information and actions and options for you, because what we're about is supporting your right to make decisions that affect your life. And that's what health freedom is, after all. So I was just about to write an essay for that blast. If you sign up now, you'll have time to get it, about the silent epidemic, because what we're hearing is that Ebola patients are in many, many sectors of the United States, but they're invisible. And apparently, we have reliable but as yet unconfirmed reports that tell us, from many sources, that tell us that these Ebola patients are being disappeared. Think Argentina with viruses. These people are being disappeared. They are first misdiagnosed with typhus, typhoid, malaria, Marburg fever, Lassa fever. Then in the hospital, they and their records are being disappeared. We are told that doctors, nurses, EMTs, and others are forbidden from using the word Ebola because it's a disease that the United States is not yet ready to acknowledge an epidemic of, and that we are told that people like us who are talking about the science and the clinical demonstration of what actually helps people walk through the valley of Ebola death and come out on the other side, and that would be nano silver, 10 parts per million, safe, useful, and scientifically and clinically validated. That's being shut down and attacked, and we are being attacked. So I'm going to give you a website where you can go and purchase the nano silver, 10 parts per million, that science and clinical experience against Ebola make a very, very good choice. And then you can do what you think is best for you and the people you love. I know that I'm trusting my life to the immune support that I get from nanosilver 10 parts per million. And the website, please write this down, is http as in Peter, donate.drrimatruth.com, donate.drrimatruth.com. Nobody else is telling the truth, folks. Nobody else. Either they're frightened or they have their own agendas, but this is, in fact, the truth, and the experience in Sierra Leone, where it was given to patients with Ebola, makes it very, very clear. So you're hearing it here, and you need to make your own choice and decision and act on it. And I urge you to do so and to protect the other people that you care about besides yourself and your own family. We will not have nano silver for very long, but I will tell you one thing that I haven't had a chance to tell you yet, Ralph, and that is that I was on the phone with a highly accurate source, and I learned that 27,000 bottles of nano silver mysteriously and unacknowledgedly wound up in Nigeria. Those bottles, at the same time that Nigeria was saying, bogus, bogus, nano silver 10 parts per million, bogus, bogus, those bottles were used and distributed, and Nigeria, of the 4 original West African countries, is the only one currently free of Ebola. Now, how did that happen? Meanwhile, WHO is preventing Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea from accessing nano silver. They clearly want death, and they clearly want communicability. But Nigeria said, no, I think we'll do it our way. And although they didn't do it out in the open, in the sunshine, they did do it in a way that literally eliminated the Ebola from their country, not through sleight of hand the way Ebola has been eliminated from the U.S., but really. And that is how the world turns when the genocidal monsters, the globalists, think they're in control of it. Ralph?
Yes, indeed, Dr. Rima.
Okay.
All right.
Comments before we introduce our guest?
I think that people need to pay attention, that the real news is not on, the talking head cable stations. In fact, General Burt recently wrote a little bit about the way he sees those stations as little more than disinformation agencies. So you want to get real information, you're going to get it raw on the internet. You're going to get it on places like the Micro Effect, great channel, and you're going to get it on places like Natural Solutions YouTube channel, and on our email blasts and our app. If you have a smartphone or an iPad or anything like that, go to your app store, put in the words Health Freedom. I think it's 2 words, but try it both ways, just 2 words or as 1 word, and you will get our app, free download. Please add it to your stable of apps. It gives us the ability to send important push notices to people, like emergency notices, and it allows you to also keep up with us more easily from your personal access device.
Very, very important. Now we have a very interesting guest who has several areas that we want to talk to about. Will you bring our guest on and introduce him, Ralph?
Sure. We're going to add to, I have to add, I guess, a guest to it. Let me see. Add people. I guess it's going to let me do that. All right. And we're going to let Joel tell us about his background. I've got to scroll all the way down on this Skype scroll. Micro Effect does use Skype as its contact device, and it's really good because it allows us, no matter where we are on this planet, to do this.
And I am in Santiago de Chile. You are in New Jersey.
And Joel, I believe, is in the Midwest somewhere, but we'll find out when he gets on the line.
And so distance becomes absolutely irrelevant. This is a fascinating world in which distance between our ideas becomes relevant, but distance between our bodies becomes less relevant.
Indeed. Joel, are you with us? No. Dr. Rima, I think you may have to add Joel to the call.
Okay. How about,
go ahead.
I thought that might be the case. Let me do that right now.
Okay.
Okay, add people to this call. Joel, I got him. Okay. Right, add to call. Now, Joel, who will be picking up very shortly, I believe. Joel, are you there?
I sure am.
Well, welcome to the Dr. Rima Truth Reports. Ralph and I are here eagerly awaiting you.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Our pleasure. I thought maybe we would start by having you introduce yourself, because you know yourself better than we do, and tell us about Global Genius Trust and how you got focused on it.
Gladly. I'll briefly tell you about the Global Genius Trust, and maybe a little bit later on I'll tell you some about myself and the other trustees. I had a vision a long time ago, channel vision, about creating the Global Genius. And at first it was called the Global Genius Group. And the idea has been, we have geniuses in this world, especially now with 7 billion people on this planet. We most definitely have a whole bunch of geniuses. How about if we start bringing them together to solve the problems that we have in this world? So that's how the idea was born, about bringing these people together. And surprisingly, at first it's been a slow process, and then it's been moving faster. It's amazing. Sometimes the phone rings, like the other days it rang at 3 a.m. in the morning, and fellow on the other side says, "You're the Global Genius And I says, yes, can I help you? He says, well, I'm a genius. And I says, well, tell me about what makes you a genius. Oh my goodness, I tell you, I was totally speechless. I listened to the fellow for 3.5 hours, and he definitely fits in the category. And the question is, what is a genius? And a genius is someone that made a special effort to, in particular, to step out of the box and learn something that no one knew before, something that hasn't been taught, something that he or she discovered and has tested it and has figured it out that is the higher truth. Maybe it might not be the ultimate truth, but is definitely a path in a higher level of knowledge, something that is not commonly known. So that's the way my description of what a genius is.
Okay.
Now, go ahead.
No, I said, okay, go ahead.
All right. So within our group, one of the things that we first tackled was the management model. And we realized that almost the entire world, except for maybe, I personally only know of 2 exceptions, everything runs in a pyramid model. And the pyramid, as we know, has a tip on the top, and it's very narrow on the top and very wide on the bottom. And on the top, you have your typical CEO, president, governor, etc. And all of these titles that we all know of. And everyone else just follows orders. Unfortunately, this model has served us in the past, but it doesn't serve us anymore. And we need to start transcending from the pyramid model to a flat model. And the flat model is where anyone in the company can actually, or in the group, can actually provide a beneficial piece of information that becomes a key role or a key decision or a key changer in the way that group operates.
That's very interesting. I recall reading a book by by Bill Gates, of all people, called Business at the Speed of Thought, which outlines a business structure that is supposed to do exactly that. So you've had practical experience with this structure. We'd love to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the way that we need to transcend to. So not only do we need to take the present command structures of the world, corporations, governments, etc., and transcend them to a more flat model. And at first it might be a small step and then larger steps. But we also need to do large-scale business. The future, the new large-scale businesses need to transcend into a flat model.
Is it possible using a flat model and using agoric structures to have not just to have a much more diversified or distributed economic structure? I'm thinking of point of use, printing of 3-dimensional objects. I'm thinking of all sorts of distributed networks that like eBay link people together in ways that were never before possible.
Absolutely. And Gore is one of the 2 examples that I know of. There's another one in Spain. And it's sad that we know how to do these things and we know how to transcend from this pyramid model into a flatter model, but we haven't been doing it. I'd like to tell you a little bit quickly about myself and some of our other trustees.
Yes.
I myself, I spent 24 years designing hardware, software, and mechanical automation devices. I have worked for close to at least 20 of the largest companies in the world in the field of hardware and software engineering. In fact, I worked, you mentioned Bill Gates. Bill Gates' office was 100 feet from my office in IBM way back then, of the days of the first incarnation of Windows.
Now that is very interesting, Joel. We would love to know more about those seminal days before you bring up to the present. And we'd also like to know about how your your Global Genius Trust operates. But you've just hit on a very interesting question. What year was that, approximately?
Oh my goodness, I have to do some math, but this was approximately 30 years ago.
Yeah,
and
all right.
Was he, to your knowledge, a committed genocidalist, depopulationist then too? No, not
You know, of course, I'm not kidding you. I understand. I'm laughing because Dr. Rima comes right to the point, as always.
Absolutely. From what you know, was that his belief system then at that point?
I'll tell you what I know. I have drank coffee at the Java machine in Delray Beach, Florida, in IBM's building with Bill Gates, because he used to go there, and I showed up at the same time. Where we drank coffee, we chit-chatted about nothing important. I didn't even know who he was. Someday someone says, "Are you friends with Bill Gates?" I said,
Joe, hold that thought. We'll be back. We have a break here at the Micro Effect, and we will resume with our guest who is telling us about Bill Gates and whether he was a genocidalist 30 years ago. We'll be back.
No pressure, Joel. Whoa.
Some people ask me, in IBM, if I was friends with him, they wanted to get close to him. I says, no, I just happened to drink coffee there. I never got to know him. I never participated in anything with Microsoft. My work was with IBM, but we were there at the same time, and it was just curious enough. And as time has gone by, yes, I totally dislike what I've been hearing they have been doing with their money and how their foundation operates. I don't like it. And I wish, what a shame that such an incredible wealth is not put to fund projects like the Global Genius Trust has, for example, doing good for humanity instead of the horrible things that I have been hearing. And I haven't kept track of it, but I've listened to a few things, and I totally dislike what they're doing with their funds.
Exactly. So tell me more about how the Genius Trust would work. And by the way, I am the mother of a genius. I am the mother of a person who's now 40 years old, who has the highest recorded IQ on the planet. And as a child psychiatrist by profession, I became kind of an expert on child prodigies, super prodigies, because I was so vigorously and fervently seeking for both wisdom and resources for him. So I know the issues around geniusness from many perspectives, because people started contacting me and bringing their geniuses to me as children and asking for guidance and resources and so on. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about and interacting with and assisting geniuses find a way to be who they can be in the world without being turned into who they're not because of the needs of other people. A very quick story. My son had been reading since before he was a year old, and he spoke many, many languages, and we were looking for a school for him where he could be emotionally who he was, and at the same time be academically who he was. He was about 5 years old, and we went to see the flagship of the Steiner schools in the United States, very close to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, a very expensive brownstone building, and the headmistress did not want my son to visit the school, and I said, no, he comes on the visit, or we don't have a visit. And she said, well, very well. And we looked at the various activities in the Waldorf school, and we walked into the kindergarten room, which was age appropriate for him, and he looked around in horror, and he said, where are the books? And she said, we do not allow children to read until their permanent teeth start coming in. And my little son, my 5-year-old, looked up at this very tall, very stern, sparse, thin, severe woman. He looked way up at her, and he said with total perplexity, I read them, I don't eat them. Complete lack of fit between the models. But here was a child who was doing graduate level work in several topics, when he was 5 years old. How do you deal with a child like that? And then what happens to this person in order to manifest their enormous gift? So I'm particularly interested in this, Joel, from an additional point of view.
Wow, amazing, amazing. You reminded me, I was trying to find someone to teach me how to read since I was 3 years old, and finally it was one of my major accomplishments in life at the time, which at 4 years old I learned how to read.
I want to explore.
5 lessons later, I knew how to read.
Right. I want to explore this strange idea that there was some evolutionary connection between the ability to read and what type of teeth one had in one's mouth. And I thought that was really fascinating.
It's one of the Steiner concepts,
Yeah.
and having read a great deal of it, I am still totally perplexed.
Good. Okay. I want to make sure I'm not the only one.
But it also goes the opposite way. I've recently heard of some fellow who has invented a whole bunch of things that we commonly use, who made the executive decision to never learn how to read. He said he didn't want to know how other people thought that things should be done. He wants to figure it out on his own. So
very interesting.
Very interested, and even as an adult, he has made it a point to never read. Very, very curious. So, geniuses come in different flavors.
They do. And one of the things that should happen with a genius is that they have the right to come in different flavors. And of course, the educational system works very, very hard to take away everyone's right to be truly individual.
Absolutely.
Very important.
The educational system, well, I don't think I need to get into that one a bit. It's one of the things that needs totally to be rewritten.
And indeed,
it needs to be rewritten specifically in that area of allowing people to be all they can be.
Indeed, it's being rewritten because all of the means of education are undergoing the most radical changes in thousands of years. Up until, when I was in law school, they were still teaching by the Socratic method. And, may have some value. I presume, Dr. Rima, in medical school, old-style teaching was going on when you were there as well.
No. Basically, what it was shoehorn teaching. We voluntarily opened up our skulls, and massive amounts of information, which did or did not have to have any relevance to anything we could see, was jammed into our skulls. Every 5.5 weeks, we had what amounted to a midterm exam or a final exam in every subject, and we went on gulping in huge amounts of information just to pass the exams. There was no education for the first 2 years of medical school. There was an endurance contest. And then when we were beaten down, when we were protein deprived and sleep deprived, and we had invested 2 years of our young lives and a great deal of our passion into the system, then brainwashed as we were supposed to be and grateful for the opportunity to still be alive, like Stockholm Syndrome prisoners, we then were allowed to contact patients. And
you were given your white coats, weren't you?
We were given our white coats and our stethoscopes and our little name tags. And now we were real doctors, and we were supposed to learn everything in the same galloping pace from our seniors and just ingest textbooks on whatever service we had to happen to be on, obstetrics or ophthalmology or surgery or medicine or whatever. And I cannot tell you how much like a brainwashing cult this education, quote, is. And unfortunately, the Common Core education has moved this style of irrelevancy, teaching you not to think but to regurgitate back further and further in the educational years, making cattle out of minds.
And isn't that the purpose?
Yeah, it is the purpose. It's a tragedy.
It is a tragedy.
But nonetheless, Joel, geniuses do bubble to the surface, don't they?
Well, they do, and I've met a few, and I'm meeting more And the question that I'm asking is, we gone through stages. And the first stage that I think it started a long time ago, probably in the late 50s, 60s, give or take, was the whistleblower. We got a problem. And people have been saying, we got a problem, we got a problem. Well, I'm tired of hearing we got a problem. I think most people that care know that we have a problem. The second wave of whistleblowers have been the whistleblower that tells you, hey, there is free energy. Hey, there's cure for cancer. Hey, there's cure for the environment. We could do this. We could do that. And they go on and on and on about all the ifs and ways that things could be done. But they don't do anything. So those two have served their purpose. They're like steps, like a ladder with steps. We've gone up the ladder a couple of steps. Where we're at with the Global Genius Trust is, look, let's stop whistleblowing and let's get to action. Let's put together projects that we can bring to life here and now, right now. What is it that we could do? Is there a possibility that we could be delivering products in the next 6 months, in the next 2 years? And the answer has come back with a very strong affirmative yes. We are dealing with people who have technologies that are no longer in research. Now, you've heard the word research and development. Research means that you don't know how to do something. And you think that it could be done, but you have no idea if it can be done. That's what research is about, to figure out if you can do it. Now, once you're done with the stage of research, now you know that it can be done or it cannot be done. So let's take the case that you know that something can be done. And at this stage, perhaps you have a prototype. You have a device that is fully functional. Now comes the stage of development. Apply it to specific industries. That's the stage that we're in right now with many technologies. It is ready to only take a few months in some cases and make it applicable, let's say, for a specific size engine for a specific car, or make it a specific for an airplane, or make it a specific for a light bulb. The technologies are available, and they just need no research, just tweaking, adaptability to put them into full production. That is the stage that a lot of products and a lot of science is at right now. And that's where we're at, wanting to take it to the next step.
Well, where is your funding coming from to build these widgets and gadgets and gadgets?
What we've done, let me take a step back a little bit before I answer that question. What we have done is to develop the business plans, to develop the methodologies, to find the people to do the projects. We have done due diligence on many technologies. There's more technologies that we wish to do full, complete due diligence. So I can tell you, yes, I know personally for a fact that it works. Now that we have the business plans, now that we have a structure, we also have legal structures that are rather complex, so we protect ourselves from all these legal evil entities that are throughout the world, whether they're intentional or unintentional, but they tend to destroy a lot of businesses. So we have all the legal structures set up worldwide, usually spreading out the legal entities throughout the world to protect the inventor and to protect the technology. Now, in this process, the next step was, where do we get money to do all of this? And just recently, we are in contact with a royal family. It's a small royal family. It's not one of the big ones. It's a little country that has funding in the tens of billions of dollars, and they are ramping up. They have already provided loans, and I'll explain the terms because I know it's a subject you wanted to discuss. They have provided already loans to close to $1 billion, and now they're in the process to open up and provide more billions of dollars for funding for projects. Now, they are not distinguishing. The only thing that they distinguish, as far as I know, who they lend money is if your project is for military purposes or for doing harm to humanity through any military activity, they will not provide funding. But they will provide funding for governments for basic infrastructure. They will provide funding for just about any project. Their funding is not being given out as a donation. It is a loan. And the terms of the loan are the following. They loan 90%. You have to put up 10%. It is usually for 10 years. There is no interest rate. There is no upfront fees or application fees. Yeah, they will give you an answer within 48 hours if your project is accepted. The way you put a proposal is you put in your business plan and you provide proof of funds of 10%. And the payment is at 10 years. You pay the original amount. Let's say it's $1 million. You pay $1 million plus 35%, $350,000. So $1,350,000 is the payment at the end of the year, the end of 10 years.
Right.
You don't have to make yearly or monthly payments. And for basic infrastructure projects, they may extend it to 20 or 30 years. And this is a very lucrative thing for them to lend money in this scenario, because what they are doing internally is they take the project, and the 10% you're putting up is to buy an insurance rep. Now, the insurance rep guarantees the project, whether you pay it back. If you don't pay it back, the insurance company will pay it back. So at that stage, you have a project that, regardless if a single stone has been put or not, it is considered a complete project. And since it is considered a complete project, you can borrow money on the project. And that's how they internally make their money back and lending you money. So it's a creative mechanism that works for everyone. And they're also a lot more lenient on the details of the business plan. But you have to show in the business plan that you're going to have the means to pay them back the 35% plus the original amount for the loan at the end of the 10 years.
So that's basically that's basically a 3.5% annual interest. Which
basically is, it works out,
as
you said, but it's not an interest because they, I believe that they do not like, as an,
Yep. Is this, by the way, is this royal family Islamic?
I forgot the.
Is this royal family or Islamic?
Who's you? Hello?
I think we lost
Joe. I missed what you said, Rima. Would you repeat that, please?
Yes, I was asking Ralph what he said because I missed what he was saying.
I was wondering if this royal family was Islamic. That would explain the attitude toward interest. And it would be very good.
To tell you the truth, I don't know. I haven't researched that.
Okay, that's fine. It doesn't concern me in any way at all. I'm only interested in knowing it from a cultural standpoint to try to understand the motivations of the people involved, and that's a good thing.
So, Ralph and Rima, I want to share something with you folks in the audience and listening. We are actively seeking and would like.
Joe, there's a problem with the call. Hang on.
Okay.
We need to get the micro effect back. I'm going to hang up and call everybody back. We've got dead air right now. Hold on. And
all right,
we can patch us in.
So here we are, folks. 17 minutes into the second part of the program, and we've been knocked off the air. We're making this recording so that the podcast that we eventually will put up will include this information, because obviously we were getting to a core issue. Joel was just beginning to talk to us about the means for organizing, the actual structure whereby people are able to get funding for genius ideas. And this is powerful.
Which would in fact shift the balance of power dramatically, since petroleum would no longer be king, for example.
Indeed. This is exactly.
And
yep.
This is not something that the other side wants to see happen.
So here we are, dead air, and talking into the microphone, trying to make at least a record of what's being said, even though the people out there cannot hear it. I'm going to go on. I'm trying to get on the chat to tell people what's going on. Yeah, unable to connect to the internet, it says here. That's the another computer. I'm going to try going on this way, and let's see if I can get onto our chat. Something we want to do anyway. Good.
But now Skype doesn't have that feature anymore of adding someone to the group call.
That's interesting. They're attacking that too.
Okay.
Wow.
Just going to type
At
everyone.
973-241-4386. My Skype number, and we will try again. Okay, this is most interesting.
Yep.
Obviously, you're doing some very important stuff, Joel.
Absolutely.
I hope that we're really doing something that is going to change this world to a better place to live for everyone, including all of these people that have been working so diligently against us. I don't know which part is it that they don't understand, that we all breathe the same air, we drink the same water, and we all benefit collectively about everyone else does.
You're right. I'm going to hang up on you and take micro effect.
All right. Well, now we'll see what's happening. I'm going to put this recording on pause until we're back on.
So that they can do it. That conversation, which would be profoundly threatening to the depopulation of globalists, has been cut off the air. We hopefully will be able to return to that conversation. Joel, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Ralph, are you there?
I'm here, and I see the Micro Effect mobile is on, but are they there? I guess we're on the air, that means. And I'm recording. I'm recording.
Forward as if we're on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Joel, you were saying that people who have legitimate projects will be funded on a 10 or even 20-year loan at 3.5% annual interest to be paid at the end, and that their responsibility is to provide a 10% contribution to the cost of this project, which will be used to buy an insurance project so that win, lose, or draw, the people providing the money will receive their money back again and will receive their interest. Right? Did I get that right?
Absolutely, except for the word interest, which is not an interest, it's a fee.
A fee.
Got it.
Okay. So it's a 35% fee at the end of 10 years. I presume a 70% fee at the end of 20 years. So tell me what kinds of projects the Global Genius Trust is looking at, and where are you in the funding and development process?
We personally have approximately 100 projects, and they fall into, for at least a dozen categories that we tend to call pillars. We have aviation, biomedical, commerce, energy, environment, finance, media, mining, software, transportation, and several others more that slip my mind right now. In these categories, for example, in the aviation category, we have a transportation system that would allow a person to travel from point A to point B in a similar service to a helicopter, except 4 times faster, with an unlimited number of vehicles flying at the same time.
Wow.
With artificial intelligence piloting for these devices at an extremely low cost. The operational cost of the vehicles is the same as the operational cost of a 4x4 pickup truck, a large pickup truck. So the cost per passenger, you're looking at approximately $8-10 for short-range trips. That's one example of projects.
This is very exciting. We are coming up on a break. Unfortunately, we lost a little airtime, but we will be back. We still have another full hour with Joel of the Global Genius Trust, who is talking about how the world can change in a very practical way. We'll be right back.
Dr. Rima, I have
welcome back to the Dr.
Folks, you got to hold on 1 second.
Now, I understand that the transmission has suddenly gotten very bad. Welcome to my world, folks. When I'm on anybody's show, mine or anybody else's, and we get to the really important stuff, this happens. So I urge you to hang in there. These ideas are world changing. and strengthens and supports us is good, as far as I'm concerned. And therefore, this is very good stuff. Joel, would you go on ahead and use our communication ability to continue with your ideas and tell us what you're doing? You said you have about 100 projects. Are they all funded so far, or are they in the hopper?
They're all in the hopper. What happened is that as we started coming up with our own projects, other people started joining us and calling us and says, we have this technology, we have this other technology. Most of them we have written business plans, but our projects are not funded. We are seeking funding. And at this point in time, what we're really seeking funding is the 10%, because we have the 90% funder that has offered 90%. So now we don't need to look for 100% funding. We're at the stage of looking only for 10% funding.
It's a lot. What you're really saying is that you have a donor who's willing to do more than match. They're willing to give 9 times what you put up. That's extraordinary.
Now, here's another thing. We only need this 10% for 30 days. It doesn't even have to stay there.
How does that work?
Well, instead of doing 10%, what you do is 11%, and you're going to get it within 30 days, you get your money back. So we'll just increase the amount of the loan that we're seeking. For example, we're seeking $1 million, that will be $100,000. But instead of doing $100,000, do $110,000, and that gives us $1,100,000, so we can return $100,000.
And who is providing the 11%? How is this working? Because a lot of people have wonderful ideas, and they have basically bankrupted themselves by the time they get to being ready to do any kind of prototype.
This 10, 11, 12%, whichever number one ends up picking, is going to be held in an escrow account. The person providing this funds will have an opportunity to do all their due diligence to their satisfaction. You will talk to a law firm. You will be able to check everything out before your money is touched. At the first stage, it's only providing a proof of funds, which is as simple as showing a bank statement and the business plan. That's what gets evaluated. We get an answer within 48 hours. If it is accepted, at that point, you will be provided with any and all information you need to do your own due diligence on it. And I expect you to do so. So the investor, whoever puts up this 10%, it's never, ever, ever at any type of risk. We'll be able to verify everything before the money is actually used. The actual money is utilized to buy an insurance wrap for the project. That's what is actually going to be used. Once the project has the insurance wrap, that's when the lender releases the funds to us. That normally happens in 14 days. It's a very, very quick process.
That's
very
really interesting. Yeah.
And what kinds of projects do you have in your hopper right now?
Well, one of the projects that I think resonates and vibrate with you, Dr. Rima, in particular, is an anti-aging and age reversal medical research foundation.
Huh.
And now, the foundation itself is not a profitable business. As you know, foundations are not supposed to produce profits. But the research coming out of the foundation will provide information for startup companies. And those startup companies will be possibly worth not only in the billions, they'll be worth in the trillions out of this research. As you well know, and many people are starting to discover, I know that I discovered years ago, I used to work with Baxter Diagnostics, and when I went to lunch there, the people that sat around me, there were people there was one folk who had 3 PhDs, and that was quite common there. These people have technology and knowledge that never reached anyone's hands.
Oh, absolutely.
This has become common. There is hidden knowledge all over. And it's time for this information to come out. And when we talk about the medical field, we are in contact with scientists that when you first hear about this, even myself, I'm pretty open-minded it nowadays. I did not used to be as open-minded as I am now. When I first heard about these technologies, I said, it's impossible. It cannot be done. But when I started researching and then listening, and I opened up my mind to say, okay, shut up and get into the listening mode and hear them out. I agree that it is real. One of the technologies, for example, they won't publish it anywhere, but they have told me personally, it will regrow an organ. It will regrow a limb. They've actually regrown people's limbs. Secretly, quietly, but it's capable of doing it. In the extremes of in the science fiction category, there is one product that has brought people back from the dead. I don't know, I didn't get around the conversation to asking how long these individuals were dead, but they were obviously clinically dead. I mean, it might have been 5 minutes, it might have been an hour, 2, 3 hours dead. The dead is dead. And you say, well, how can this be possible? Well, there's so much energy that feeds the cells that resets the body. It comes back to life. Now imagine giving those products to someone who is alive, like you and I or everyone. It will stop aging. It will reverse aging. There is technologies to do that. And I don't think that it's only one single technology. There is an array. It's a protocol. And this is the protocol we want to perfect. We want, starting with ourselves, I'm a guinea pig for many technologies that I try on myself.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think that I am personally getting younger instead of getting older, which is quite a bizarre thing to say, but I'm feeling
good nutrition. I think Dr. Rima would agree, Joe. Nutrition can work wonders. And the big problem we have, of course, in the Northern Hemisphere, Dr. Rima, we are recording the balance of the Dr. Rima Truth Reports for November 10, 2014, because the interference with the program has gotten to the point where we're going to have to turn this into a podcast. We have as our guest Joel from the Global Genius Trust. Joel, you haven't told us about any website or given us a little bit about your background. This might be a great time to do that. And maybe we could even view this part of the program as the beginning of the podcast that we're going to create from this very interesting discussion we've had over the past hour and a quarter. Where do you want to start?
Absolutely, Ralph. If you like, we can start all over again.
No, I don't think we need to start all over, but give a little introduction, and Ralph slice that to the beginning.
Exactly. That's the idea. Yeah.
So as a form of introduction, our website is your typical www.ggtrust.com. That stands for globalgeniustrust.com. ggtrust, trust.com. And what we are is a holding trust for a group of companies, for a group of technologies, with the goal and the intention of bringing these technologies now to market. Not 20 years, not the story that you hear, well, yes, flying cars are going to be around 50 years from now. No, you could be flying in a car. We say car because it also drives down the street. But it does three things. It does the same thing a helicopter does, a plane does, and a car does. You could have this technology 5 years from now. That's all it takes. It doesn't take a day more than 5 years to deliver these types of technologies. The only problem between us and delivering technologies is government regulations, the willingness of the people to do it, and the funding to do it. That's the only thing that holds us between having that and as we were talking, in the medical field, I have discovered some amazing things. I've even discovered what you call miracle healing and how to go about it, how to acquire those abilities, how to do it. These is knowledge that you can call it knowledge or technology or both, but it's available for everyone now if you seek it. If you want this information, it's available. Now, what we want to do is put it all together and apply it to a group of people and create a protocol. Personally, at the end of the day, or in this case, at the end of the year, I don't care which one works. What I want is to look at myself in the mirror and see myself younger, healthier, and most important of all, feel younger and healthier. And I do believe that that is an achievable goal. We have reached a point in research in technology that it can be done. But we're not going to achieve it by feeding the large pharmaceutical companies, which are only interested in selling their drugs and supporting us in their drugs. You know, take for instance the heart drugs. Just 3 months ago, a friend of mine calls me up and said, I just had a heart attack. So what happened? My doctor put me in 3 medications. Now, the reason he put him only in 3 medications is because he knows that he cannot afford the standard 6 medications. My question to him was very simple. Who do you trust more, your doctor or me? He says, I trust you. That's why I'm calling you. I says, well, it is very simple. You start taking magnesium, as much magnesium as you can possibly take without getting a diarrhea, and wean yourself off this medication. Well, that's what he did. And last week, I ran into him here in the street, and he says, you know, I went to my doctor, and my doctor tells me that I'm doing wonderful, that those drugs he sent me are working wonders, that he was surprised to see me so well and in such great health. I let him talk, and then I told him, you know what, I'm not taking any of that crap you prescribed. He says, whoa, time out. What is it that you're doing? How can you possibly be better? You just had several months ago a heart attack. He says, well, I'm taking magnesium. Now, you know, magnesium is not the only thing to make someone healthier. But you can tell that only taking magnesium will wean you off 3 heart drugs. And that is a well-known fact. A well-known fact that is not publicized. And if a pharmaceutical company hears me say that, you know, they are going to be very, very upset. And the average medical doctor that hears that, he says, are you a doctor? No, I'm not a doctor. I am simply a researcher that studies things, that researches, that finds out truly what makes the human body tick. And I have found out that magnesium is what most people that are having a heart problem need. I found out that magnesium is the cure to probably 20 or so % of the diseases that we have. Now, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that you need to feed your body correctly. And if your body is fed in an ideal dosage of minerals and ideal foods, it's going to heal. It's a machine that is perfect. We are the ones that are feeding it junk. And if you feed junk in, you're going to get junk out. But if you start providing your body what it needs, you heal. So our research is bound in that, and we have put together a business plan in which we're seeking $3.5 million to operate this medical research foundation. And the medical research foundation is also, in parallel to the study that I just described, it's also going to do an FDA-approved research. And that one, a medical trial, an FDA medical trial on 2 products that we wish to market.
You know, you have to be really careful, Joel. You have to be very careful when you do that. If you do a medical study, and then later on you cite the medical study as substantiation for any claims about the dietary supplement, you have just turned your dietary supplement into an unapproved drug. And so it's really important that the protocol be correctly written for the clinical trial, and that the report be correctly written for the clinical trial. For example, I can't talk about my consulting clients that I've worked with, but let us just say that I've helped people reconsider the language they've used in their clinical trial reports so that the language no longer makes references to disease conditions and things that you can't make claims for dietary supplements.
And you would think that this would be perfectly logical, and you would not have to tap dance and do that tap dancing on the head of a pin, and you'd be wrong. Because, for instance, with the Nano silver 10 parts per million against the infection of the cells by the Ebola virus, which is very, very real, the FDA said, well, you can't tell people that it can help the immune system and deal with the Ebola situation unless you have science to refer to. And the fact that you're referring to the science, which in fact we are, turns it an untested drug, which is illegal to market, manufacture, or recommend.
Even if it works. Even if it works. So we've said to the FDA, right, especially, right, we've said to the FDA, well, the study we're relying on, which is a study that the U.S. government funded, was not about the treatment of Ebola. Actually, there was nobody with Ebola. No people with Ebola were harmed in these tests. It was not about humans at all. It was about petri dishes. It's about what happens when living cells, nanosilver 10 parts per million, and various hemorrhagic viruses are in the same petri dish. Actually, different dishes for different viruses. And what happened is with the 10 parts per million nanosilver, there was way more than 90% failure by the virus to penetrate the living cell membranes. That is, the nanosilver supported normal homeostasis by supporting the ability of the cell membranes to do their job, which is not to be penetrated by viruses. Remember, a virus is not alive. It doesn't have any intentionality. All it does is mechanically penetrate living cells and replicate itself. It injects the RNA into the cell. It takes over the cell. Billions of little viruses come running out. And that's what it does. And the mere existence of the virus in your bloodstream is not a disease. So if your cell walls do their job and don't let the virus penetrate, then there was no disease even to prevent. We're talking about support for normal function. We're not talking about treating a disease or preventing a disease. Now, hopefully, the agencies will think carefully about what we're saying and understand that we're giving them an opportunity for honorable retreat to allow people access to nanosilver with honest statements about it and without having to obscurate what's going on. We've filed a formal citizens petition, and we invite all of you out there to join us in expressing to the FDA and our elected officials your support for that petition. If you go to one of our tiny URLs that has an action item on it, a web form that lets you send messages to your members of Congress, to the FDA, and other decision makers. And that's tinyurl.com/don't stop nano silver. Don't stop nano silver. No apostrophe, of course. Just don't stop nano silver. One of our tiny URLs. And you'll be able to express your views to Congress and help us in our petition for urging the FDA to acknowledge the benefits of nanosilver as a nutrient, supporting normal homeostasis.
And does it matter if you express your belief that nanosilver should not be interfered with? Yes, it matters a lot, because what we've found is that these agencies and the globalists, in fact, step back every time we speak out with a loud enough voice raised together. When there are lots and lots of us, they do step back, and there are lots of examples of our successes. By the way, we have an accomplishments page at www.drrematruthreports.com, and that accomplishments page lists many times when these seemingly powerful and unperturbable globalists actually back off and do what we want them to, which is very, very satisfying.
Especially this, our 10th anniversary year. We're very excited by the situation, and I guess we should, as we come around to the last half hour, take a very brief moment for an advertisement, if you will. 3 things, and if you want some of our magnificent organic coffee grown on our own Valley of the Moon coffee finca in Panama, you can still go to the regular web page, www.valleyofthemooncoffee.com. Make your donation and get your coffee. If you want some of Dr. Rima's nanosilver 10 parts per million, or if you're interested in CBD products, you go to our donation page where you can also get the products. And the donation page is, very carefully, http:// no triple W, and then simply donate.drrimatruth.com. That's DRRIMA truth.com. Those get you there. But one more thing. In addition to nano silver, we've been talking to a lot of people about micro gold. As we approach the holiday season, this coming week especially is the best week to order micro gold for delivery for the holidays. No, micro gold is not edible. Micro gold are little 1, 2.5, and 5 gram bars of gold that are actually serial numbered and registered through a German company that's made it its business to provide these little pieces of gold to people, preset in credit card size cards, laminated with authentication information on it, a link so you can actually see that this particular little gold bar is real. It is the greatest gift you could give to your associates, to people that you care about. What a great gift to give to nieces and nephews to help them understand the value of value. What a great gift to give to associates in your business to let them know how much you value them. This is a great opportunity. That's why Natural Solutions Foundation joined the Carrot Bars affiliate program at the recommendation of our good friend Gary Franchi. So you can go to the website. Here it is. It is real simple. It is www.givegoldforgood. That's the number 4. givegoldforgood.com. Give gold with the number 4, good.com. And you can place that order. You got to do it this week to make sure that you get delivery. They're beautiful little pieces of history, really. All the gold that was ever mined. Dr. Reen, do you know that all the gold that was ever mined is basically still available on the planet's surface? Except for little bits of it that are buried, but basically it's all still there.
Yes, it's amazing. And the interesting thing about this is that it is a solution against or solution to the vulnerability that we all otherwise experience to the manipulation that is being done to our fiat currencies. It's designed to drive us rapidly down into poverty and desperation, so we accept whatever they give us if they allow us to survive. And most of us will not be allowed to survive. And we say there are solutions. There are natural solutions.
What a great stocking stuffer.
The Genius Trust is, the Global Genius Trust is looking for solutions, and it's a fascinating model. Let me ask you a question. We have a wonderful hemp project, growing CBD hemp, the only licensed hemp project for commercial purposes in Chile, and the only one that will provide certified organic hemp in the world, because you may think that the CBD oil products that you're using are organic, and they may even say that they are. They're lying. There is no certified organic hemp in the world available on a commercial basis, and we're about to change that. This will have a huge impact on medicine. I call CBD hemp, the hemp oil product, the holy grail of natural medicine, which along with nano silver 10 parts per million can eliminate, I estimate, about 95% of the pharmaceuticals currently in use. That's quite a lot, and that's quite world-changing. Imagine if your health were never in question, and if your the gross national product of your country, 16 or 17%, were freed up, and it could do something that really helped people, because people would have free and unlimited access, easy and unlimited access to CBD products and to nano silver. That would be quite wonderful. But would the Global Genius Trust fund our project?
Well, as I explained earlier, the funding mechanism that we're offering right now that we can facilitate is where you put 10% and you get a 90% loan. And that project does fall in that category. The minimal amount for a project is $3.5 million, so it has to be a project that is more than $3.5 million.
Yeah, we can do that.
That means you have to come up with at least $350,000.
Yeah.
So, folks, we're looking for a white knight out there. Yep, we are looking for a white knight. That's what we're looking for. Somewhere out there in internet radio land, somewhere out there among the hundreds of thousands of people that we communicate to, the millions, there is someone who has the capacity to do this with us. As Joel explained, the money is only needed for about a month, and exciting circumstances. So we put out our intentionality. We put out our intention that this come to pass.
Now, how would people get in touch with us? The White Knight is listening, and he or she says, yes, I'm really interested in this, and I want to know more about it for me, and I want to make this happen. What would they do to do this?
All right. Well, first of all, I invite you to go to our website, which is ggtrust.com. It stands for Global Genius Trust, ggtrust.com. And there you can learn about us. Our website hasn't been updated in a couple of years, so there's a lot of information that is not still there, but it'll give you a very good general gist of who we are and what we're about. I recommend you go into the links that says About Us, our trustees, our advisors. I also want to open up the invitation to anyone who feels that wants to cooperate with us at the level of advisor, to be member of our advisory board, or even if you want to be a trustee. If you think you have the skill set to be a trustee, we'd like to expand our number of trustees. If you have a project that you want funded, you want to be under the umbrella of our group, we also invite you to contact us for us. You can email us at info@ggtrust.com. If you wish to email me directly, you can do so at Joel, Joel, @ggtrust.com. And if you don't have access to internet and you want to call us, you can call me at area code 305-515-8137. Again, the 305-515-8137 Eastern Standard Time. Though I live in South America, I do pick up, answer that line. And if you want to give us a donation, you can go to gofundme.com/ggtrust. Again, that is www.gofundme.com/ggtrust. And we also welcome donations.
Wonderful. That's really good. And by the way, folks, to the White Knight that's sitting out there, if you want to contact Dr. Rima and myself, there's an email address that will get to the both of us, and it is ralph@fundfornaturalsolutions.org. That's fund for, spelled F-O-R, fundfornaturalsolutions.org. Ralph@fundfornaturalsolutions.
Now, the White Knight, who is interested in making CBD available to the world, should take a look at the Global Trust, the Global Genius Trust information that was just shared. And you should also contact us. The best way would be to send an email to Ralph@fundfornaturalsolutions.org. Ralph@fundfornaturalsolutions.org with Hemp in the subject line, or CBD, either one will work. And we will send you the information, the executive summary and so on, that you need to decide whether this is a project that you want to get involved in, which it is. It's quite an amazing project. And then we'll be able to see how this ties into this particular funding system that our guest has been talking about. It is not the only funding system, but it's very interesting. And we're very excited that global changing options are being looked at and are being seriously funded. Besides money, why does this royal family want to see the world changed?
My understanding is that they are some of the people in this world that have woken up, same as you and I, and realize that it's their problem. And when I say it's their problem, it's your problem, Rima, it's Ralph's problem, it's my problem, it's everyone that is hearing us talk right now. It's everyone's problem. And when something is your problem, then you're the one who's responsible to do something about it. And that's what this family has also realized, that it's their problem, but they have the wealth to make a difference. They have the wealth to finance creative, innovative, new projects that really make a difference in the world. Building another building or another road is not the solution. Those are basic infrastructure things that are truly a waste of money because there are technologies that are superior to those. Money gets put in the wrong thing quite often, and these folks are starting to realize that they can make a difference. I hope that that's the way they're thinking. That's just my understanding of what their thoughts is. I also wanted to mention that if someone listening wants to put up this 10%, we're offering a 15% earning time. So you will earn 15% in 30 days. It's a really good deal. I also wanted to point out that most of our projects, in fact, 99 out of 100 projects that we have are extremely profitable. The potential of earning profits, outrageous profits, more than hasn't been earned in practically any business or any industry in the past. It's also part of what we are doing. Our projects not only serve humanity and solve a serious problem in our world, such as transportation or the health field or ecology or many other fields that we're involved with, but they're also profitable. And I'll tell you one that just popped into my mind, very, very simple. We want to take a munition company, a company that manufactures machine guns and weapons and munition in particular, and we want to make a gun that shoots out about a 30-millimeter shell with a germinated plant in it. So you can sit in front of a mountain, or you can do it from a helicopter and shoot these rounds into the ground with a germinated seed on it. That is a way to transform our military. Wouldn't it be nice that our military now goes out and shoots trees into mountains? That's it. Those are the things that we want to do. There's technology to do these things, but we need people's support. We need support in different ways. We need support at this early stage. We need financial support, but we also need, maybe someone is listening to this call and says, you know what? My goodness, I happen to be an expert on munitions. Give me a call. Tell me, look, I'm an expert in munitions. Call me in, So there are ways to transcend and transform what we have now, this destructive machine called the military, into a peacekeeper planting trees. These are things that we can do.
Would the military want to do that?
Would you say it again?
Would the military want to do that?
I think that the majority of people that sign up into the military are people that had good intentions. They were fooled, they were lied to, they were tricked, they found themselves in a pretty bad situation. Some of them, like my partner, he was an intelligence officer in the military. He had a high-ranking position, but one day he decided, I'm working for the wrong people. Got to get out of this thing.
No question about that. No. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm married to Major General Albert M. Stubblebine III, who retired as the commanding general of the U.S. Army and Security Command, and now he understands how he was duped and how he was lied to, and how his 32 years of military service served something quite different than he thought it was serving. So I get that. I'm saying now, let's say we have this wonderful technology, and let's say we've got 3 other great technologies that we could use our armed forces for. The globalists want to go subdue countries and create endless war and endless subjugation. We want to do something different. So how do we make sure that the Army would want to do what we want it to do, or the Navy or the Marines or whatever? Have you thought that through? Because just having the technology is not the whole deal, of course.
I think the most important thing to any military in anywhere in the world is that what needs to happen, what we're proposing for them to do, is to transcend. For example, I have a very simple proposal. Nothing will change in the military. All the ranking, salaries, everything stay all the same. Change the name. Get rid of the word military. Call it something synonymous to peacekeeper. Put some love in it. Put some word in it. Change your title. When someone asks you, what is it that you do for a living? I keep the peace. I bring love to the planet. I bring mechanisms of making sure that people don't kill each other.
I cannot agree with that. That scares me. That's Big Brother 1984 double think.
You gotta be careful.
Call a war machine. Finish. You call a war machine a peace machine. You call the Ministry of Disinformation the Ministry of Information. You call the media, which is a lapdog repetition system for official lies. You call it a free press, and all you do is confuse and delude people so they can think.
Right, and you shoot people up with infertility drugs. You shoot people up with infertility drugs and call them vaccines.
Yeah,
not
exactly.
you, of course, but yeah. So we wonder, but that's very interesting.
I see what you're saying, from that point of view. But I'm saying it's got to start somewhere, and
changing the name of the war machine doesn't make it a peace machine. Making it a peace machine makes it a peace machine. That means changing the training. That means changing the goals. That means changing the national goals for why we have a military in the first place. Now, that's a much more profound change, and I'm up for that. But just changing it so that people say, well, I'm a peacekeeper. I mean, well, we have UN peacekeepers, don't we? And look what they do.
No, absolutely. It's got to be a complete change of philosophy. If you change the name of your business into something else, it's not just a change of name. It has to go along with a philosophy of what you're transcending to. You need to transcend the military from what it is right now, looking for war, trying to fight with someone, selling weapons to both sides, and then trying to trigger a war to a real peacekeeping operation. And then you start reducing it until the day comes that doesn't even exist. I mean, it's eliminated from our societies. Our societies do not need a military outfit. We need a system that we don't have a need for any military whatsoever. And we are.
Once again, I have to disagree with you. If there is a one world government and everybody's at peace because the people who weren't at peace have been subdued, demonized, then you don't need a military. You just need somebody to bash down anybody, whoever might think of an independent idea. But the way the world really is, much as I would love to be a pacifist, much as I would love to say we don't need military, the way the world really is that a military vacuum will be responded to with military overcoming force, overwhelming force. And therefore, what we need is to make people not hungry. We need to make people not resource short. We need to make people to give our best thought to abundance rather than suppression. And then a military becomes a lot less meaningful. But that's such a profound change, not impossible, but just taking away the name of the military. Okay, now we're good guys, and we have tanks and planes and guns and drones, and we're going to get rid of all you people who are bad guys because we have more tanks and planes and drones and guns. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, but it has to go to transcend. Put the military to clean up the mess we have on this planet. Clean up all the toxins in the ocean. Clean up the mercury out of the rivers and sea. Make the military do some real good things for this world other than war.
That would be very nice.
Sit around, they have knowledge, they got equipment. Put them to do good things.
Especially since the military is by and large one of the largest sources of pollution on this planet, whether it is depleted uranium all over the Middle East or all sorts of toxins dumped on various islands where they, and elsewhere. If the U.S. government would simply clean up its own filth, that would be a great example for the rest of the world. That would be very nice. And of course, we know historically it was government itself, with its certificates of convenience and necessity and its decisions allowing pollution to go forward back 100 years ago, that laid the stage, if you will, for the devastation of our environment. It was the federal government allowing its public lands to be treated as though nobody owned them. And that's history, though. But it's time, to think a bit about history. Now, here we are, a day before 11/11/14. Now, of course, 11/11/14 was just the beginning, really, of World War I. World War I had begun in August of 1914, a little over 100 years ago. 11/11 is the end of the story. In 1919, when the war ends with the complete exhaustion of all the participants. Unfortunately, not complete enough, because they had another go at it just a generation later. And what did that war resolve? The first war of the 20th century, the second war of the 20th century. What did any of those things resolve? Finally, the Europeans had gotten so disgusted with war that they actually stopped killing each other for the first time in a few thousand years, which is a good step forward. But I don't, we've been working at this for 10 years. Natural Solutions Foundation was founded in 2004. Here it is 10 years later. Dr. Rima, General Bird, is the world a better place? Joel, is the world a better place now than it was 10 years ago? 10 years ago.
Well, that's an interesting question.
2012. 2002, rather.
We have had several vaccine-induced pandemics that didn't occur because of us.
Yep.
We have had a growth in the vaccine resistors movement around the world. We have had a plethora of whistleblowers, from Edward Snowden to Dr. Thompson to lots of others. We have scientists like Russell Blaylock and so many others speaking out. We have public skepticism, vast public skepticism and disbelief on the official story of pretty much anything, starting with 9/11 and then just kind of skyrocketing from there. We have rebounding repression. We have endless war. We have more endless war than we had before 10 years ago. We have ruthless repression contending against emerging consciousness. And in some ways, that's no different than it's ever been. But at this point, we have the internet. And I would say, because of the internet, yes, the world is indeed a better place, because we have more data, we have more hope, and we have more connection. That's how I would answer that question, Ralph.
Indeed. Indeed.
Now, I feel like what Rima is saying, we are people connecting from all, look around us right now. We're in 3 parts of the planet in 2 different continents. And, we are cooperating. We're meeting. We're bringing others along. We're asking for others to join us. We're collectively saying we're going to do something about it. Now we're going to do. We are doing something about it. We're asking for others to join us in the effort of what we're doing to do it collectively. We're asking people to invest in things that are important to them, instead of putting their monies in faceless corporations. We're telling them, look, you want to earn money, you can earn money. There are ways to earn a lot more money, but do it in things that are meaningful to you, that are meaningful to the world, that are really going to transcend and get us out of the mess we're in. If we were to discuss the subject of free energy, which is not a good name, free, because you still got to buy the equipment. But you're talking about, you can run cars on water. You can run cars on electrical coils. You can have anything and everything that is electrical appliance can be running for free once you buy the initial piece of equipment. And this is something we can do right now. We can stop polluting this planet by burning fossil fuels. That is a major key thing that we need to do. The sooner the better. Because most people, I used to think that pollution was CO2. Wow, little did I know that I knew that pollution meant that out of the tailpipe of a car there's a whole bunch of toxins coming out of there. It's not just CO2. There's a bunch of stuff. You know, concrete, cement, the Portland cement contaminates the environment. It's one of the number one contaminators. And all we need to switch is to a different type of cement that does the exact opposite. When it cures, it extracts toxins out of the air and it sequesters it into the concrete. These are technologies that we have here and now. All we need to do is set up large-scale businesses to operate and start producing these products and start using them. And we at DDT have a wide array of these technologies ready to be deployed. There are projects that are 30 million. There are projects that are billions of dollars. Money is not the problem because money in this planet, it's an illusion. Nowadays, it's even a bigger joke than it used to be. Now it's a zero in a computer. You know, all you have to do is put another digit in a computer. It's a little electrical charge, and there's money in your account. It's crazy that we keep on saying there's no money when there is plentiful. Problem is that it's not flowing from the sources with the large-scale funding and back to the hands of the projects of people who want to bring these technologies to the world. But the technologies are available, and we are inviting anyone that wants to join in any category to start bringing these technologies to life. For example, there's one technology that I'm working here in my municipality, which is it's a personal transportation system. It's electrical. It goes up on the air in a cable. It's anywhere from 3 to 10 times faster than a car. It's much more economical than a car. It's extremely safe because it's all computer controlled. You know, for goodness sakes, this is technology that we've had for the last 40 years. Why are we not putting it in the cities? I suppose sometimes maybe no one offered it. No one went and knocked on the mayor's door, which I do. I go talk to the mayor personally and tell him about these things. Funding was not available, but that's starting to loosen up and starting to, in the process, to happen. It's a matter of we, the people, taking action and say, I want to take it upon myself in some category that you have a skill set and do something about it. If everyone did something about it, only in a few years we will be out of the mess we're in right now. So once again, I invite anyone that wants to join us in any category, be it all the way from giving us a donation to participating with us. For example, the fellow that introduced me to you guys, what he does, he's retired, and what he does every day, all day long, is introduce people. He just happens to know the right person to meet the other right person. He picks up the phone, he puts them both on the phone, and he makes the introduction. You know, and he does that with a single expense of his home telephone number. That's it. That's his entire tool. He doesn't have a computer. He doesn't use internet. He just grabs the phone and calls up and says, hey, Ralph, hey, Rima, would you like to meet Joel? Here, talk. One of the two of you talk. So everyone has an opportunity to do something. There's a lady that I know that lives in a retirement home in South Florida. She's in her late 80s. And that's what she does. She introduces people. She says, hey, by the way, should you meet this person? She does call introduction to get people that should be working together. That I'm using those two folks as a message to everyone listening to me that you have the ability to do something. Maybe it's the person down the street you know. Maybe it's someone that you met 20 years ago. Maybe it's the person you work for. You know, it could be a wide array of people. And you could do something so vital and so important as introducing two people that could really, really make a difference. If you can donate, that's wonderful. We will accept it. We will put it to good use. If you want to invest with us, that's great. You know, please do. Shift your investment for wherever you got your money right now. Shift it to a better place to invest it. There are many, many, many ways that we can all collectively help in order to get out of the amazing mess that this world happens to be. You know, like I said, that's whistleblowing. You can hear that. You can listen. You can look at the internet. You can listen to old shows about all the problems. I'm about fixing and doing right now, right here, changing the things that are going wrong, shifting and this all by ourselves. We depend on others. This is teamwork to do it together. To bring these technologies to life, we need to come together. But
this is a very, very inspiring message. I agree with you 1,000%. And I know, Ralph, this
Absolutely.
is part of the motivation that keeps you focused the way you are, along with us. Everyone has a voice. Everyone has power. And in fact, the dirty little secret that the globalists do not want you to know is that we have all the power. They have none. That is so profound, and you are giving people an articulated view of a way to express that power. Fundamentally, every time you sit back and say, well, too big for my little head, or, well, there's nothing I can do, or, well, I guess I'll just line up and get the vaccine because it's just so much effort to get a vaccine exemption. Every time you do that, you have given away your power, and you have said, please enslave me, and if you want to, please kill me. And we're not saying that. We're saying we are free, and we are powerful, and we are taking our power in the most appropriate way possible. How very thrilling. Give your website one more time, Joel, before we stop.
Absolutely. It's ggtrust.com. ggtrust.com. Also, if you like to contribute with a donation, you can go to gofundme.com/ggtrust. That is spelled GOFUNDME.com/ggtrust. And if you have questions, you wish to know more about us, there's a contact page on our webpage, but you can also email us at info@ggtrust.com, or you can even call us at area code 305-515-8137. And I thank you and look forward to working together.
Thank you so much.
Delightful. And we have lots and lots of questions that we'd like to ask and some thoughts, because we have several really very interesting projects and several technologies waiting in the wings that we'd love to talk to you about. So thank you, Joel. This has been a great pleasure. And I want to thank our audience for being patient. Of course, we have had transmission difficulties. Well, what do you think? Ralph, any closing thoughts for this extraordinary edition of the Dr. Rima Truth Report?
Extraordinary indeed. Joel, thank you. You've taught us a lot. You've opened our minds to some very interesting possibilities. Folks, you'll be able to see and hear this podcast on our archives, which are at youtube.com/Natural Solutions. And of course, you can always reach the archives or the radio program or the chat that we keep an eye on during the radio program at www.healthfreedomportal, Portal, healthfreedomportal.org. No matter what station we're on, that's always your portal to get to us. Thank you, Dr. Rima. Thank you, Joel.
And thank you, Ralph, and thank you, Joel. We'll be in touch, Joel. Most extraordinary. Thank you so much.